Hey everybody, I'm Eric and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about a HELOC or home equity line of credit, what it is, what the process is like in obtaining one, and why you might want one. So a home equity line of credit is a loan you can get from the bank in which the equity in your home is the collateral for the loan. Now this type of loan differs from a refinance in that it's used almost the same as a credit card in which you can draw from it, you repay it, and then you can draw from it again. It's a type of revolving credit. Some reasons you might want a home equity line of credit are just to have an emergency fund or to use as capital as an investment, which is my plan currently. One of my goals that I mentioned in my welcome video was to own an investment property by July of this year. Now, while the current global situation might delay that goal a little bit, it's still my goal, and that was the reason for me getting a home equity line of credit, is I needed capital up front to use for the purchase price of a rental property. Now, another great thing about a home equity line of credit is that it doesn't hurt anything to have. If you've seen my video on credit cards or the credit scoring system, then you'll know that having this type of loan does nothing negative. It can actually be really beneficial to you just to have that available credit. If you want a really simplified breakdown of the difference between a cash out refinance and a home equity line of credit, you can watch this video. So there are a couple things you're going to need right off the bat just to be able to get a home equity line of credit. And number one is you need equity in your home. Since equity is the collateral for the loan, if you don't have any equity or if you're negative equity in your home, you're not going to get approved for anything. Secondly, as with any line of credit or loan, you're going to need a decent credit score. Now, the amount of equity that you have in your home and your credit score, along with some other factors such as your debt to income ratio, are going to determine how much you get approved for. So we're going to look at my actual numbers so that you can see how it all breaks down. So now before I get into the process of how you apply for it and what the approval process is like, I will tell you my one regret right off the bat is that I did not shop around. We bank with Bank of America, and just for simplicity's sake, and I was kind of rushed and honestly just really excited to get it done, I decided to just go with Bank of America. I got online and I submitted the application online. It took me about 5 minutes to do, which was pretty simple. From there, I was contacted by somebody in their loan department and we began communicating via telephone and email. Now, obviously they pull your credit report and they look at your credit score, and they also run your address through some sort of program that they have which spits out what they think your home is worth. Now, I imagine this is a similar algorithm to something that like Zillow uses or Redfin, where if you go to their website, it'll tell you the Zestimate. Now, the original value that their program spit out was $480,000 for my home. Now, I was confident that my home was worth at least $500,000 based on the simple fact that my neighbor across the street just got his house appraised about a month before mine was, and his house appraised for $500,000. So I discussed that with Bank of America and they decided to order a complete appraisal. Now, also worth noting is that the appraisal cost me nothing. Bank of America paid for it. So I had the appraisal done in about a week, and then Bank of America came back and told me that my house appraised at $504,600. So they approved me for a maximum line of credit of $76,500. And here's how the math on that breaks down. So my home was appraised for $504,600. minus the current principal that I owe on my mortgage of $325,000 equals $179,600 in equity. Now, like I said, Bank of America approved me for a maximum credit line of $76,500, which is about 42.5% of my total equity in the home. Now, I mentioned before that the equity in your home is the collateral for the loan. So this just means that if you default or stop paying the loan, then the bank is going to have an equitable interest in your home. So the whole process took, I want to say, about 4 or 5 weeks. It's a little longer than normal because we had an appraiser come out and actually do the appraisal, and he had to do his numbers and then send it in, and that all takes some time. But about 4 or 5 weeks later, we went into the branch of Bank of America and we signed the closing papers, and about 3 days after that, the loan was funded, meaning I now have access to $76,500. Now again, the cool thing about a home equity line of credit versus a cash out refinance is that money isn't given to me, it's available to me. So now we're going to talk about interest rates really quick, because like I mentioned, interest rates for your regular credit card are like 18-19%, and you can get one lower than that if you go with a credit union, but that's your average. Whereas the interest rate with a home equity line of credit is significantly lower. Now, unfortunately for me, the interest rate that I got is a bit higher than what they're currently offering because I got into this just before this global disaster unfolded. So they offered me an introductory rate of 3.74% for the first 12 months of the loan. After that, my interest rate is going to be 5.67%. Now, I just happened to go look at what the interest rates they're offering now after this global disaster, and it's 4.07% after an introductory rate of less than 2%. Now, here's a quick little tip about the introductory period and the interest rate. What you can do, and what a lot of people do, is refinance your home equity line of credit every 12 months so you continually get the introductory rate. And as long as you've made your payments on time and you haven't screwed anything up, you should be able to refinance no problem. Now, a home equity line of credit is a 30-year loan, but it's broken down into a draw period and a repayment period. Basically, this means that I can draw off that loan, repay it, and draw off it again, and continue that process for the first 10 years. After that 10-year mark, whatever the balance I have is locked in, and then I have 20 years to repay that balance, but I'm not allowed to draw any more off of it after that. Now, since my plan is to use this as capital for the purchase of an investment property, I was interested in what my monthly payments would be based on what the balance was. So to give you an idea, if I borrowed the full $76,500, my monthly payments would be about $467 per month. If I borrowed $40,000, my monthly payments would be about $244 a month. Now, another nice thing about the home equity line of credit is that it costs literally nothing to get. There are no closing costs or fees of any sort, and like I mentioned, the bank even paid for my appraisal. Now, I think it's also important to mention that this kind of loan is completely independent from a cash-out refinance. And I know a lot of people always look at this versus that, but the reality is you can do both. Given the current global situation and interest rates falling to historic lows, I'm actually looking to do a refinance right now as well. Now, there's really no reason I can see not to do a home equity line of credit, because even if you don't need the money right now for something, or you're not looking to make an investment like I am, it's a perfect rainy day fund. It's a great thing to have just in case of an emergency. And like I said, it doesn't cost you anything to set up. And as long as you don't draw anything off of it, then you don't have to pay anything going forward. But it's just there in case you need it. Now, obviously, I'm waiting to see what happens right now with this global situation before I make that real estate investment that I wanted to initially. So far, the real estate market hasn't really been affected by this, but I have been seeing a lot of stories of tenants not being able to pay their rent, and then the landlords not being able to pay their mortgage, and so on and so on. So I'm waiting to see how this whole thing shakes out before I jump into a real estate investment. But in the meantime, I've got a perfect rainy day fund if I need it. Like I mentioned, I'm also looking into doing a refinance since the interest rates are absurdly low, and I may also benefit from doing that. So if you've decided to do a home equity line of credit, please learn from me and shop around. Find the best interest rate possible. I did not shop around. I just went with convenience and what I knew because I was too excited to do it. Now, when that bank's computer algorithm spits out your home's value, if you're confident that your home is worth more, tell them that, and they'll pay for an appraisal to come out and be done. But be confident, because if the appraisal comes in at less than what the computer spit out, then that's not going to be good. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Please hit that like button for me real quick before you leave. Stay tuned, and until next time, make it happen.